How's it going, everybody? You read the title. No, this isn't clickbait. I actually have an argument here, so just hear me out. I know a lot of you are fond of the original Naruto series and just see Boruto as an inferior show. With it being a sequel series, people were bound to draw parallels and compare the two, usually leaning on the side that Naruto is better because the fights were cooler, the stakes were higher, and the chance of death was always around the corner. But there is one thing that the Boruto series does better than Naruto: the education system. Even if you like the original Naruto, you gotta admit that the education that ninjas received in the academy was absolute garbage. They were taught practically
Nothing!
You think I'm exaggerating? How does a school for ninjas not teach them how to walk up walls? And this isn't a Naruto is dumb or wasn't paying attention kind of thing. Sasuke and Sakura were both surprised to see the technique, and these two had the highest scores in their class. So if they don't know it, it wasn't taught. And you can make the argument that Genins are accompanied by a sensei for a reason. They're still students to a degree, so their sensei should be teaching them stuff. But walking up walls is really basic and is just a utility move. It really should be taught in the academy. I mean, it's not like they were busy learning other things. Every time we cut back to the academy days in Naruto, the students were either sparring or throwing kunais. We know they were taught the transformation and clone jutsu because of the first episode, but that's really it. Apparently, that's all you needed to be a ninja back in the day. Now compare that to Boruto's generation. If you go into the academy, you will actually come out a somewhat decent ninja, or at least better off than back in the day. On top of everything I already mentioned, you are taught multiple basic skills. Not also are you taught how to walk up walls, but how to walk on water as well. You get to learn how to summon and a sealing technique. This is what the academy is supposed to be. Teach the students basic skills that they can customize or specialize in after they graduate. Side note, in Boruto, you have to fight teachers to graduate. They're holding back, of course, but that's still a better test than having to do just one jutsu. And speaking of one jutsu, a prime example that the education was just terrible in Naruto is that if you're not part of a clan, you are really screwed. Let me explain what I mean. If you look at the Konoha 12, going into the Chunin exams, they all pretty much know just one jutsu. And from the 12, 9 of them are part of a clan, and that is where they learn their one jutsu from. The number is 8 if you choose to not count Naruto, since we don't find out till way later in the series that he's part of a clan. So for the sake of the argument, we're just going to count it as 8. It doesn't change my point regardless. So we are left with Naruto, Sakura, Tenten, and Rock Lee. Lee's an outlier since his whole stick is that he's supposed to represent the idea that with enough hard work, even someone with no talent can become a splendid ninja. And if it wasn't for God's training, Lee would be just garbage. The same goes for Naruto. If he didn't steal the scroll and teach himself Shadow Clone, he'd have nothing. I know it's a meme to say Sakura is useless, but in the first part of Naruto, she really didn't add anything to the team. She didn't become useful until part 2, when she's able to hit hard and learn medical ninjutsu. Like, it was really bad in part 1. Other than substitution, she has nothing else in her arsenal. In her first big moment for herself, when she cuts her hair and signals she's ready to fight, she has to resort to using the deadliest ninja technique: biting. Oh, and then she has to be saved by others because she's not effective at all. And finally, there's Tenten. Need I say more? Tenten is such a non-character, it's quite sad. If you only read the manga for part 1, you wouldn't even know what Tenten does. She only has one fight, and the manga doesn't even bother to show it. The fight we see in the anime is made up filler. In the manga, we see Tenten ready to fight, and when we cut back to her moments later, she's already lost. The way Tenten fights is to summon a bunch of weapons from scrolls, then throw them. We don't see her curve her throws or do trick shots, she's just good at throwing stuff. Which is very underwhelming when we live in a world where people can harness the power of the elements. And you know what? That's the perfect transition for my next question. Why isn't fire style taught in the academy? Konoha is in the land of fire, so you would think fire style would be more prevalent in the citizens. The only fire users we really see are Uchihas and Sarutobis, members of a clan, backing up my earlier statement that the education in the village is terrible. You're either taught something by your family or you have to make it up on your own. There is no uniformity in the village. Most people we see from the Cloud Village use lightning jutsu. Pretty much everyone from the Hidden Mist uses water. Stone people use earth. Hell, a decent number of people from the Sound Village actually use sound-based techniques. I'm not saying everyone in Konoha has to use fire. I'm just saying you would think there would be more users of it. Or at least earth style, since they are the village hidden in the leaves, and earth would be more appropriate with that name than fire. And yes, I'm aware that not everyone would have an affinity for those nature types, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't be incapable of learning it. Some students would just struggle with it more than others. Just don't make it a requirement to become a ninja is all. The academy at the very least should tell every student what nature type they have. Would it kill them to have one day where they pass out the chakra induction paper to the students so each student knows what they have an affinity for? And even if they choose to learn or create jutsu that they don't have an affinity for, I don't see a downside in them not having that knowledge. So throughout the video, I've mostly been saying that the education during Naruto's era was hot doo-doo. So much so that you can make the argument that genin were set up to fail, especially if you weren't part of a clan. There's a reason why some ninjas looked down on Leaf Genin. Remember when Zabuza looked at Team 7 and said, "You guys are just playing ninja? Cause in his village, to graduate, you gotta kill your classmates." Imagine being a Leaf Shinobi who graduated by doing a clone jutsu, being the same rank as someone who had to murder their friends and classmates. Good thing the Land of Waves doesn't have Uchihas, otherwise there would be way more Magna Koi Sharingan users. And all of this is not to say that Boruto's education is perfect. I'm just saying that it is undeniably an improvement over the Naruto era, since they set the bar so low. But if you think Naruto had better education, let me know in the comments why. If there are other things you think Boruto does better or that I missed, let's hear it. And with all that being said, don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos just like this one. You can message me on Twitter if you want to make suggestions for future videos. So with all that being said, until next time.